Today on the program, Tesla is preparing a new car that fans have been asking for a long time. Ford is presenting its new Transit, but it might be hard to swallow. MG unveils the prices of its MG4 Urban, and it's 20,000 euros cheaper than the competition. And finally, the government allows gas stations to sell fuel that doesn't meet standards. Tesla has done it again. A little comment from Elon Musk and everyone gets excited, as if they just announced a rocket to go grocery shopping. It all started with a message on X, in which he explained that the rear bench of the Cybertruck could fit 3 child seats or 3 adults. And someone replied to him, "Very well, now make a minivan." And Musk dropped this line: "Something much cooler than a minivan is coming." Since then, speculation has been running wild, and it's fair to say that it's based on genuine demand. For years, many Tesla customers have been reacting and making requests: a large family vehicle with 3 rows of seats and real practicality. The Model X has long occupied this space, but it dates back to 2015. It's reaching the end of its cycle, and it's no longer necessarily aligned with what the market expects today, especially in terms of price and versatility. So what could Tesla be preparing? The most popular theory is a large electric SUV inspired by the Cybertruck. Not necessarily a giant steel block rough-hewn like the pickup, but a model that would incorporate some of its design cues, with a more conventional silhouette that's better suited to international markets. Because, as a reminder, the Cybertruck isn't allowed here, since it's basically seen as a giant guillotine in a pedestrian collision. In short, for this Cybersub, we're talking about a vehicle between 5 and 5.3 meters long, capable of carrying up to 7 people with a potential range of 500 to 600 kilometers, according to the WLTP cycle. Why? Does this theory seem credible? Because a model seen in 2025 in an official Tesla video actually showed what looked like an SUV cousin of the Cybertruck, and because reusing the pickup's platform would definitely make sense. That would reduce development costs while giving that vehicle platform a second life after sales fell short of expectations. But there's another possibility, maybe even more realistic: an extended version of the Model Y, called the Model YL. This model already exists in China in a 6-seat version. Now, near the Texas Gigafactory, images show the shell of a large vehicle packed in a wooden crate with proportions that are reminiscent of a longer Model Y. If that's really it, Tesla could simply adapt an existing model to offer a family SUV that's more affordable than the Model X and do it more quickly. For now, it's impossible to say for sure. Either Tesla is preparing an all-new large SUV inspired by the Cybertruck, or the brand is moving toward a much longer Model Y, or maybe both. But, as always with Tesla, we have to be very careful. We just know that something is going on, but we don't know exactly what. On the other hand, there is one thing we know for sure: Tesla is capable of triggering a worldwide media storm, with a very vague statement, a blurry model, and a wooden box. And that, whether you like the brand or not, is a talent that's almost unfair. Ford, meanwhile, is adding a new name to the already very large Transit family, and this time, the newcomer is called Transit City. It's an electric van designed for urban deliveries, with a pretty simple philosophy: get the job done properly, without trying to reinvent the wheel. And visually, you can see it. Okay, we're talking about a utility vehicle, but a bit of originality wouldn't have hurt. But the most important detail is that this model is based on a Chinese vehicle platform. It comes from a joint venture with Youngling Motors Corporation, in which Ford holds a 30% stake and uses the platform of a model already sold in China. It's an effective way to limit development costs, even though the vehicle's origin is likely to be closely watched in a European market that can sometimes be sensitive about this issue. Transit City will come in 3 versions: a compact L1H1, capable of carrying up to 3 Euro pallets with a payload of 1,085 kg, a larger L2H2 with 8.5 M3 of volume, and a payload of 1,300 kg, and finally a chassis cab for conversions. Under the hood, there's a 56 kWh LFP battery offering a claimed range of 254 kilometers. Ford explains that 90% of vans in this category drive less than 110 km per day. That's probably true on paper. But in Europe, especially for fleet managers, 250 kilometers can still seem quite limited, especially when some competitors do much better. The motor produces 150 horsepower. For recharging, it takes a little over 5 hours at a charging station. 11 kWh on AC power, or about 33 minutes to recover 80% with fast charging, up to 87 kWh. Again, it's enough for the intended use, but it's not something that will blow anyone away. However, Ford claims 40% lower maintenance costs compared to a diesel. On board, there are 3 front seats, durable materials for 10 years of heavy use, and a comprehensive standard package with a 12-inch screen CarPlay, Android Auto, adaptive cruise control, and a rear-view camera. Orders are expected to open in the second quarter of 2026, with deliveries in France starting in early 2027. Its price has not yet been announced, and its main challenge will probably be its range, which could seem very limited compared to the competition. Then, MG revealed the first prices for the MG4 Urban, and immediately there were signs. On one hand, there are those who will say, finally, here is an electric compact car at a reasonable price, and on the other hand, those who will respond, yes, maybe, but with a range that is more like a city car than a true versatile compact. And that's exactly where this car becomes interesting, because it blurs the lines with a certain boldness. On paper, MG presents this electric MG4 Urban as a versatile car. It's not completely absurd. It's bigger than a Golf, but at the same price as a C3. With its 4.39 meters in length, it's clearly in the compact car category. The problem comes when you look at the technical specifications. As for range, MG claims 325 kilometers for the smaller battery and 416 for the larger one, and 28 minutes to charge from 10 to 80%. If the range isn't really impressive, the price, on the other hand, immediately grabs your attention. Since this MG4 Urban doesn't qualify for the EV incentive due to its Chinese origin, MG is offering a €5,000 discount on the entire range until June 30. As a result, the small battery version starts at €19,990, which makes it an excellent deal. A car that's much more spacious than a Renault 5 with a relatively similar range, but for €5,000 less. But where it really becomes worrying for the competition is when you compare the big battery version with a Peugeot i308, for example. The latter offers 450 km of range and a 30-minute charging time. The MG4 Urban offers 30 kilometers less range, a relatively similar charging time. But above all, a discounted price of €22,000, which is €20,000 less than a 308. So what do you think of this MG4 Urban? Let me know in the comments. And finally, the government has made a rather surprising and even somewhat paradoxical decision to temporarily allow the sale of non-compliant diesel. In fact, gas stations are now authorized to sell summer diesel, which is less resistant to cold, just as the frosts are making a bit of a comeback all over France. The reason given is simple. There are currently exceptional supply difficulties. The government connects them to the Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz blockade, which is hindering diesel deliveries. Although it meets seasonal standards, prices are rising sharply. According to an AFP calculation based on data from almost 10,000 gas stations, diesel has increased by nearly 30% in France since February 27. Technically, the issue revolves around this well-known TLF, the temperature at which diesel may no longer remain fluid enough. When it's very cold, paraffin crystals can form, clog the fuel filter, and disrupt the engine's operation. It's precisely to avoid this that, under normal circumstances, France requires winter diesel, from November 1 cent to March 31st. Some stations even offer extreme cold diesel, able to withstand temperatures as low as minus 20 degrees Celsius. The current measure is therefore an exceptional exemption. It's intended to avoid supply shortages, but it's not without precautions. Distributors will have to inform their customers of the risks if temperatures drop below 0 degrees Celsius, especially in mountainous areas or in winter weather conditions. And above all, they will take responsibility in case of any problems related to the use of this fuel. On the oil industry side, the message is more reassuring. UFIP Energy and Mobility states that there is no risk for engines, and they present this measure as simply bringing forward by a few days the usual change of fuel in order to ease supply. On the other hand, you shouldn't expect any good news at the pump. This fuel won't be cheaper than winter diesel. According to the industry, the manufacturing process remains the same, so there will be no visible savings for the consumer. The government is opting for regulatory flexibility to prevent a possible shortage. It's a temporary, highly regulated measure that mainly shows just how much geopolitical tensions can end up having very concrete consequences, even in the fuel distributed at gas stations. And before we finish this video, we were sold electric vehicles as the future, clean, quiet, and economical. That's the problem. Insuring an electric car now costs more than a good old gas-powered car. We're talking about a 45% increase in just 2 years. The reason, apparently, is that repairing these technological jewels is a nightmare. The batteries cost a fortune, and the technicians are practically magicians, hard to find and expensive. In short, the slightest scratch on your electric car and your insurer will raise your premiums. On average, the insurance cost for an electric car is 11% higher than for a gas-powered car, especially since, for the same profile, prices can range from 1 to 3 times as much. So, that's when you should take 2 minutes to use our free comparison tool and quickly get the best prices and the best coverage for your car. And on top of that, you could save up to 473 euros per year on average compared to your current insurance, which is about 40 euros per month. That's no small amount, so don't hesitate to use our free comparison tool. There's no obligation. The link is just below the video, in the description, or in the first pinned comment. Thank you all for watching this new video. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. Bye.